I have a great show for you. It is about a girl who has some amazing powers who wields a deadly scythe. She attends an amazing castle-like school of gifted youngsters, all of whom have amazing powers, and they are training to become this military-esque soldier that protects the world from the various evils in the world, like monsters and bad guys. Along with her team of friends, she goes on various missions to protect her school and to protect the world. This show is well written and thematically rich, and it is also wonderfully animated, especially around the fight scenes. I, of course, am talking about Soul Eater. Soul Eater follows Maka Alburn and Soul Evans and friends as they save the world from the evils of the Kishin and the witches. Now, there are a lot of similarities between Soul Eater and RWBY. Soul Eater, the earlier of the two, was originally a manga that started in 2004 and ran until 2013. Due to its popularity, it became a television show that originally ran 51 episodes from 2008 to 2009. It was followed by a spin-off manga and a show entitled Soul Eater Not. RWBY began airing as a web series in 2013 and is still running. It is fairly safe to say that RWBY borrowed a number of plot points and creative choices from Soul Eater, from the main character's style of fighting to the military school for gifted youngsters motif to the use of popular characters of the public domain as inspiration for character design, often fairy tales and folklore related characters. However, for all of the similarities that these two shows possess, it is in many ways safe to say that if you like RWBY, you should love Soul Eater. When it comes to the use of literary devices, including plot-themed dialogue, character development, and payoff, Soul Eater displays them with resounding efficacy. From the lore and the use of plot throughout the series, Soul Eater makes compelling choices without relying on plot contrivances to move the story along or sacrificing character growth or narrative reliability, or a show's ability to follow through on the narrative choices that they make and present. Some of what keeps RWBY from being a better series is the lack of congruent storytelling that gives the viewer a small sense of narrative unreliability. When plot lines are abandoned in pursuit of fan service, themes and motifs are implemented half-heartedly, and character payoff moments are made hollow by a lack of sufficient character development. This is evident foremostly in the development of the two main characters, who are quite similar from their speech, their style of fighting, both being referenced as the Little Red Riding Hood in their respective series, and both sharing similar weaknesses. RWBY and Maka are both skilled at fighting with weapons, but are at extreme disadvantages without their weapons because they lack physical strength and fighting skill. In Soul Eater, Maka is forced to confront her fears of being weak when faced with an enemy she couldn't defeat with her skill alone. Her friend and weapon took a deadly blow for her, leaving her unhurt but alone and helpless. On the other hand, when RWBY is forced to confront her weakness, she does so by engaging in mild hand-to-hand combat. And this training goes on for a little bit, but she never faces any battle situations where she has to face a foe without the use of her weapon, Crescent Rose, nor has she faced any real-world ramifications for her purported weakness. Some of what makes a qualitative comparison of RWBY and Soul Eater so disparate is related simply to the production. The amount of money that went into the production of these two series is vastly different. This is most evident in the length of episode in each respective series. RWBY, being a web series, averages at 12 minutes per episode, while Soul Eater utilized the standard 22-minute television show format. Soul Eater just had more to work with in terms of writers, animators, and staff. This means that RWBY's greatest challenge has always been to write and produce a story in a limited amount of time while keeping their weekly 12 to 13 week release schedule. With so much less to work with than the average production, especially in the first few seasons, it would have benefited RWBY to simplify their plot and focus primarily on the main cast of characters, which for the most part they did, but balancing the need to expand the overall universe of the show while building meaningful scenes and characters has shown to be difficult, especially considering what they have to work with. Soul Eater, on the other hand, has a lot of time to build scenes and see various plot lines out to their inevitable and natural conclusions. Plus, this anime had a lot of source material to pull from in the Soul Eater manga. It isn't that Soul Eater is just better for its own sake. Soul Eater just had a lot more to work with than RWBY does. Overlooking the fact that RWBY is somewhat derivative, Soul Eater is just basically what RWBY could be if it had every resource available to it, creatively and economically. Still, neither show is all good or bad. Fans have been highly critical of Soul Eater's series finale as contrived and cliche, and RWBY has a number of very inspired creative choices, like the often celebrated choice to make all of the characters' weapons also function as guns. RWBY is a good show. However, today's RWBY fandom should understand that this show doesn't exist in a vacuum. It does have both contemporaries and predecessors. Fortunately, RWBY still has time to work on its execution, for only time will tell who outshines who in the annals of history.